Whoa! Hi, my mic's on now. I started streaming just now. Uh, Seems like y'all were hanging out for something. Don't know what. Like there was no pre-show going on. There've been hackers though. There've been some hackers kicking around. Um, so let me give you some pre-game. Let me give you some what do we call it in the streaming world? Do they call it stream foreplay? Uh, I just was on a Hasbro Q&A call with a bunch of other Transformers media folks on the list. Also, I've only had about 2 hours of sleep, and I decided that why don't I just stream? So here we are. I'm on that good energy. I'm on that circadian energy. If I'm looking over here, I'm looking at the chat, but I'm going to try to look here because I think it's more unsettling if I'm looking directly at you through your monitor. We click more. So if I look to the side, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just, what do they call it? I'm negging you. So you want me to look back at you. I'm trying to tease. I'm actually looking at the chat over here whenever I'm doing this. Audio bad. Audio bad. Is it okay? Or is it messed up? Because I think I turned it back on. OBS has a thing going up and down saying that you can hear me. Okay, that was just chat lag. Audio fine. You're all saying audio's fine. Hey, that's pretty snappy. So, I was on one of them Hasbro Q&A things, and I took notes as before, and I am aware it is more helpful to people if I was just doing a big stream of tweets of my notes, but I want to stream. Also, my notes, as I've said on Twitter, in a vacuum, if I just pasted these onto Twitter, some of this wouldn't really make sense because I was kind of stream of consciousnessing. So, like, if someone wants to take notes of this stream to create third-hand notes of what was on. Also, people were live tweeting during the Q&A, right? I saw on Twitter, I was like, oh, am I scooping people? But no, those folks on the call, they were live tweeting what was up. It's all cool. What I want to bring you is some of the subtext and the tone, because the Transformers team are very fun to be on a call with, and it's not like they're influencer fun, like they're going like, hey guys, welcome to the stream. They just have a vibe of a team who get along, and they've got a decent sense of humor about themselves. And there is a laid backedness about these streams that obviously you see that in the PulseCon stuff now, I think, as well. But there is a laid backedness in these calls. Also, did you all actually check out PulseCon? Because you should at least check out the pre-show, because our boy Thu did the pre-show and was very good at it. And what I caught on what he was tweeting is he had to also learn how to use a teleprompter, if I understood correctly. And it's not easy to learn how to use teleprompters. You can't tell I'm looking at one right now. I've actually pre-scripted this entire stream, but that comes with years and years of television experience that I absolutely have. Teleprompting stuff, it's tricky. You could say the chat's a teleprompter, actually. I'm just looking over here reading stuff off of here. April got jump scared by me immediately shouting, welcome to the oh, my apologies. I got hit by a screamer on Twitter this morning. I haven't been hit by a screamer in literally a decade, and actually didn't really faze me that much. It was kind of cool. I don't know. Don't jump scare me though. Yeah, Endertrot. I heard the Power Rangers fans were a bunch of yeah. That the chat on PulseCon sucks, and that's, I also feel for anyone who appears on a PulseCon stream, because you are seen by the Hasbro YouTube chat, and the Hasbro YouTube chat is Garbo. You're a good chat over here. I'm pointing at you right now. Y'all, that's good chat. Hasbro wishes they had this chat. Granted, there's less than 100 of you here, so inherently the quality is higher. But nonetheless, dang, MJSPUD97 subscribed for 14 years. I don't like to know 14 years have elapsed. Thank you, though. Yeah, that's right for springing. Dozens of us. Dozens. All right. So, the Hasbro Q&A for October 2022. BMAC was kind of running things. Also for this one, we did like send questions ahead of time, but it was not like your usual thing where like you send questions ahead of time and they just say answers. I think it was more so they would have like some ideas of like what they could think about beforehand. I do not know of a single person on that entire call who had a question nixed. It sounded like more people had their questions asked before they were gotten to, and that's why everyone had like, 3 to 5 questions. There was no like nixing of questions. There was simply the statement up front when we were contacted, and also like up front in the stream, that they are not talking about Rise of the Beasts or Earthspark, because this is focusing on the Legacy and Studio Series announcements that happened around PulseCon. This is not new. This is a thing that Q&A calls do, and I think it's for the better, so that we just don't have random stuff flying all over the place. And the Transformers team is also the specifically marketing and toy design team. They can't answer some questions people have about Transformers, the grander property, because they work on toys, they work on marketing. That stuff's all set. That stuff's separate from packaging, even. So, just laying that out up front of like who we're not going to, we're not going to be like saying like, and here's the big spoiler for Rise of the Beast. Also, this might make someone tune out immediately, but I don't care. There was no like massive news drops during the stream. This was more like trivia stuff, and I love that stuff. And it was also seeing the Hasbro team talk, and I'm a shameless parasocial about that, so I'll share some of that with y'all. Sea Striker 87, they did not talk about the stock price, no. Although I will say no one asked about it either. People were good about that. BMAC did say this did not get asked about, because I don't think there was much to ask really amongst our group. BMAC worked on the Magic the Gathering Transformers crossover and did say he could field some questions about it if they came up. But honestly, I don't think anyone came with any prepared for it, and I don't really know what you'd ask other than like, whoa, why did you pick characters? My only question would be, why is there no Wooburg character so you could run a commander deck with all the Transformers cards? That seems like a gimme. And also, the only other question is, why are you putting Transformers into Brothers War? Why are you not doing just Secret Lair Transformers of all the Transformers cards? Blah, blah, blah. That's a whole thing. Magic Gathering is a big, crazy nightmare property. I don't envy anyone having to work on that. I'm having some water. Killer Mel, I will say they did not address the yellowing of Star Saber because it hasn't happened yet. And I'm not going to say yet. I'm going to say it hasn't happened. But also there's like no evidence either way. That's at one point I think they did cover it. I don't know if I took a note, but they said the thing. Like Evan on design has a vested interest in mining and collecting data on the yellowing to try to pinpoint what's going. They talked about this like many streams ago when this all started. They are collecting like what is yellowing, where it's yellowing, what the codes are on the packaging, people have them, and pinpointing like where this is all coming from. A previous Q&A went deeper on the yellowing issue. That was one where Sam was present, and Sam had a really interesting anecdote about like fluorescent lights having an effect on something that was on his desk. It wasn't a Transformers thing. It was like a helmet or something. But basically, if you do have yellowing stuff, post about it, because they are seeing that, they're collecting that data, and they're figuring out, backtracking basically where that's coming from to continue to try to like figure out how to stop it. I got my theories I've talked about before on streams about where that's coming from. A lot of the yellowing that has happened so far is tied to 2020, 2021 produced stuff where there was little to no ability to physically be present at factories, which I think is a huge part of how plastic mixes could have been not even botched, just like done weird. I'm no expert, by the way. I have theories. I have what I call educated theories based on me remembering lots of stuff about Transformers, because I can't remember lots of stuff about how to function as an adult. That could be a problem, but for the purposes of a stream like this, it's only a boon. All right, so they introduced Delaney Norris, who was new to one of these Q&A streams. She was also part of marketing and also was tied specifically to Studio Series. She pointed out she had on her desk a whole bunch of toys from other brands she'd worked on, and she had a helmet from, I think, Star Wars or something, signed by Mark Kudrow. Evan from Design says, I sit across from him and I don't have a signature from him. What the heck? And also Evan Design, BMAC. I call him Evan Design. It's Evan Brook. Evan and Mark, who have Instagram accounts that I'm sure you guys are keeping track of if you're really a sponge like me about this Transformer stuff. We had Evan, Mark, BMAC, and Delaney as our folks who were there. The first question that came up was about Crasher and Shadow Strip. It was kind of the tongue-in-cheek, like, so I bought these toys. Am I allowed to ask you about them? Because they weren't necessarily announced at PulseCon. They were announced, I think, at that Walmart thing afterwards, but they didn't come out on Walmart's website, I think. So it was kind of like, are they actually Velocitron Wave 2, and are we going to see more G2 decos and Legacy? BMAC had a lot of answers about retailer exclusives that I think this stuff is helpful as far as figuring out where to aim aggro about retailer exclusives. And that's kind of even a harsh way to put it, but hopefully you guys know what I mean. Don't read between the lines of what I say. There's nothing there. I try to be very particular about my wording for reasons like this. But there is a planned expectation that they are Wave 2. However, BMAC doesn't know precisely when Walmart plans to release them. Obviously, they just did. Walmart didn't give him any word about like a specific date they were going to follow. Apparently, they didn't drop them specifically with their collector event, and that was kind of odd. Mark Marr says that hopefully they can finish the G2 Stunticons. Very much eyebrow waggle. Like, yeah, sure would be cool to finish the G2 Stunticons. And they also saw Shadow Strip as an opportunity to do, because that deco was so different. They wanted to call the toy Shadow Strip, and he referred to Shadow Strip as a new character, which feeds my hope that the G2 Stunticons are all going to have new names and just be different characters who happen to look like the Stunticons. So Shadow Strip, as I heard it, is a new character. So it's not Drag Strip, it is Shadow Strip. I think that's cool because I think that stuff is neat. You're going to be subject to my own tastes here on the stream, by the way. Verspringen also, yes, going off what you said, we can all aim aggro at Walmart. But yeah, I was really hoping it would come up that Shadow Strip is a new character, because you only win. Even if it's obviously G2 Drag Strip, you only win as far as headcanon, bait, and lore opportunities by making them into new characters. Anyway, next question was, under John Warden, the target audience was always stated as being kids. Are designs and target audiences more fan-driven than before, and is that reflected in sales figures? Like, are more collectors demonstrably buying toys? This is where BMAC stated something, and Aaron, you're going to like this because we've talked about this on the podcast before. BMAC said that currently, when they say fan, they are referring to like anyone ages 8 and up who started with like rescue bots. So where we as fans started with like G1 or Beast Wars or Unicron Trilogy, 8-year-olds started with rescue bots, and so they are considered to be fans as well. He referred to, like, he said, like, do you guys know the STEM process? And I was like, that's an odd way to to connect that, but I kind of get you. So when they talk about stuff for the fans, they are not only talking about us, they are talking about the 8 to 12-year-olds who started up on rescue bots. So everything is designed with kids in mind, but fan favorite characters can get refreshed within the context of these lines. So it's like a balance of stuff for the older fans while making the toys engaging for 8 to 12-year-olds. I say 8 to 12 because 8-year-olds came up and 12-year-olds came up. It's a nice window. It's the preteen window, right? Where was I? Doing research right now, or they're doing research ongoing, keeping track of who's buying what. Currently, it seems that kids are still the bigger audience buying Transformers, even generations, which I think is good because there's more of them than us, and that's for the better. Even if the cops don't agree with me, it's for the better. As far as fan favorite characters, the design team and Takara, when they design toys, BMAC was saying this, they do a lot of work to ensure that like there's like 2 to 3 potential partial retools into other fan favorite characters off of any given design, just to maximize and keep the window as wide open as possible to stuff the most names in there. MJM, yeah, like they recognize that like Rescue Bots was a G1 for kids, basically, who are older kids now, that being 8 to 12, right? So with generations, kids, they just see a cool vehicle and a cool robot. They don't necessarily need to know who it is. Like, they'll see Tarn. Tarn's just a robot who turns into a cool tank to a kid. They might go online and do the research afterwards, but like this is a later question as well. But that's partially why some of the larger toys also still, the not larger toys still have an open window. is because the stuff that a kid could feasibly buy with saving up for a couple weeks, they get more engaged by that stuff as well. And so that's why they try to balance names and characters that older fans love that also just look cool to kids. And it is a design challenge to design for both an 8-year-old and also a 40-year-old, in Mark's words. Like, that's kind of a direct quote. Someone must have fallen off the sidewalk. In case anyone wonders about the sirens that have always been heard going by me, I'm right by a road where all of the ambulances and fire engines love to drive. I have a firehouse. Is that what they're called? A fire station, half a block from me. I don't actually get bothered by this stuff because I'm a weirdo. I sleep with YouTube on. Some of you must do that too. But I always like to let people know that, no, there's no emergency going on here. Some other sucker's building's on fire. Anyway, next question that got asked is, this was citing Scraphook. I think Brian Kilby from RFC asked this one. I didn't write down who asked the questions, but in some cases I just remember. So it was brought up. Scraphook was a really lovely thing to see because it's a new character, and in Generations especially, it's not easy to get brand new characters, right? So are there going to be potentially more original characters in Legacy like Scraphook? So Mark, I believe, answered this first. I started writing down who was answering what later on, but he said basically there is a planet of Junkions, so it doesn't require going to a whole new universe to start pulling new characters because there is a planet full of Junkions. You can start pulling Junkion characters out of there. And they always try to do new things and then reinvigorate the breadth of the line. And I believe this came from BMAC. There's a balance to strike with the franchise team where they present new ideas like Scraphook in a way that matches the goals of the franchise team. Or I think the overarching bodies. So it's hey, we have the Junkions are fan favorites. They also give us a foundation to build Legacy Year 2 on top of. And also Mark does this a lot now. You must, if you guys have been keeping up with their streams and whatnot, you must be aware. But Mark did shout out Marcelo Matir and Dan Kana for helping out with the Scraphook concept. And I'm assuming the whole Junkion Evo Fusion concept as we ideally see more of them. Sam Wellbell, top tier remembering. Hell yeah. And yeah, Aaron, the sirens are a wow factor. They're the glitz. They're how you know you're in the big city. Anyway, Ben Yee asked this next one, I remember. And Ben Yee did not ask this because he thought this, but he had heard this a lot. Maybe some of you have asked this question. So he said, kind of couching in that he doesn't really feel this way himself. Neither do I really, but I know I've heard this too. Some folks have felt that the plastic being used from War for Cybertron onward has been different than the plastic used prior in Transformers. Is that true? And this is where we got some of those kind of cool toy design and engineering tidbits. Evan said that plastic types in toys have not actually changed since the 80s. It's just that the number of them being used has increased. But the plastics used in the 80s are basically the same plastics that were used now. However, Evan mentioned that when they were doing stuff like those retro G1 reissues of Hot Rod and Starscream, when you start remaking toys from the 80s, you discover stuff like that some 80s toys were in fact solid ABS plastic top to bottom, every single component, and that is why some older toys tend to literally shatter when you transform them too roughly. And that's what he said, at which point Evan then said, oops, sorry, I meant convert them. And again, Evan Design, they're all fans of this stuff. It's a line that sounds kind of chuff, but I think it's true. Evan on design is literally all of us. That is one of he could slot into any memory I have of ever talking to a fellow fan at a convention, online, whatever. And it was kind of funny. He said transforming and just went oh, sorry, I meant convert. And it was yeah, that's you get it. And then and so it was mentioned during this plastic type stuff. Someone chimed in about the yellowing and whatnot again, because it is always a thing. And as far as I can, Evan was yeah, the yellowing, let me know. They are not down with or chill with this yellowing, but it seems like they need to backtrack what's going on, try to fix it, and then if it happens again, they have to backtrack that, try to see if something new happened. But yeah, like the War for Cybertron plastic, it's just, it's ABS, it's palm, it's PVC. There might be other plastics in there, but like those are kind of the three. As a layman, I've always understood that like when you look at Transformers toys, or really any toys, but Transformers toys specifically as like one that you can look at because we're all collecting them. If you're watching this stream, most probably, ABS is the harder, more rigid, more brittle stuff. Palm is the quote unquote unpaintable. It's not factory paintable. It's the one that's more nylon like, more flexible, often used for load bearing or heavily stressed parts on moving parts. And then PVC is the low durometer or softer durometer, softer stuff that's usually used for pointy bits so that they're bendy. That's the way to think about it, basically. And that like there's more plastics, obviously, but like those three, ABS, palm, PVC, palm being POM. If you just like even remember those three, and when you regard a transformer, you look at it and you will see ABS and palm, and then if there's something soft, it's PVC. You can identify it pretty quickly, like how they feel, like what is being used where. And I do believe it's like just looking at all the pictures of yellowed figures from the last 2.5 years, it is the palm plastic specifically that is yellowing. That's the load-bearing nylon style plastic. It is always the palm, I've noticed, and that's a key thing. That's why Override is probably not going to yellow. Knock on wood. My head is wood, yes, because Override has just big, thick, chunky reams of white ABS plastic in her legs, and making a lot of the forefront white parts. So I don't think like she's in trouble, but yeah, BMAC from marketing did like he had to throw in. He mentioned like contact customer care if you do have problems with yellowing. They can't always replace the exact figure because they may not have stock, etc., etc. You've all dealt with that, I'm sure. Basically, the design team and the marketing team are not chill or cool about it. They want to do stuff to solve it, and their ability to solve it is to try to fix future product and to try to replace what you have. But like that is the purview of what they're able to do. Oh, someone just asked me if I'm live streaming. Yes. That is what I replied with. I'm going to go back to my notes. Yeah. Override won't yell. It's just no, Override won't snap. If you haven't got Override, if you have her, you know what I mean. Her ABS pieces are thick. They are like chunk. You could bite them and you wouldn't even leave teeth marks. Your teeth would get marks in them. Don't try to bite your toys, though. Don't. This is hypothetical. Anyway, next question was about Tarn. Someone kind of mentioning like Tarn seemed to show up with all the licensees first, and then in the main line afterwards. So asking kind of what took so long, and are there going to be more? Like, are you guys going to try to finish the DJD in the main line? How would you finish them if you could? Because obviously some of them have super weird alt modes, like a chair. So Mark said that James kind of shouted out James Roberts doing really good work writing the DJD and More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light, and that's why they kind of had a lasting effect. And they did see like all their licensees, Flame Toys, Super 7, were doing Tarn already, and they're like, "Why we got to do Tarn?" And also kind of related to this, apparently one of the first things Mark did on the brand was have bi-weekly meetings with IDW to synergize a bit more. And he mentioned later on, I'll just jump ahead, like that's why Knockout was Legacy Knockout in IDW 2, is that when those comics were being put together, they had the design outline of Legacy Knockout. So they said, hey, here's sketches of what we're probably going to do for Knockout. But the reason why you saw Knockout so much earlier in the comic is because the timelines by which the comic is made is exponentially faster than the timelines by which toys are made. So it's like, here's what we're doing with Knockout. Then, year to 2 years of process. In the meantime, the comics are like, all right, well, we'll just start drawing them like that, But yeah, the going forward, they Mark said that they want to be in sort of tighter concert with the comics. They didn't say anything about, who might be taking the comics over after IDW. That didn't come up because that wasn't part of PulseCon. But it sounds like that whoever they are going to work with, they want to like have more bi-weekly direct conversation with them about what both parties are working on. Anyway, Tarn had jumped to Cyberverse and really stuck out, right? Very popular character, so it felt like it was the right time to do him. The other DJD are definitely a design challenge, and they are it's on their minds. They're trying to figure out how they could finish what they referred to a lot of these little team sets as mini collections, like the Insecticons, the Decepticon Pretenders, the DJD. You could call them all mini collections. He mentioned Yuya-san worked on Tarn and tried to match Alex Milne's aesthetic. I got a reply to my private message. I'm not going to tell you what it was. It's for me only. That was not with a Hasbro person. That was with a friend of mine. It's only vaguely related. Right. So I talked about this comic stuff. BMAC said that Legacy gave them an outlet for characters like Tarn and the ability to branch out character-wise, whereas War for Cybertron had kind of set casts of characters even up through Kingdom. It was kind of like Kingdom is going to be Beasts meet G1. So they didn't have as much wiggle room, whereas Legacy is like wiggle room the line. Domino Paradox, Helix and Tesserus are like I wouldn't hold out for them because they are inherently gigantic. And it's like, are they really going to get a commander slot? They could, but I would say that's not like a given. Or they could be even as leaders. Like there's only 3 leader toys a year. Like they could be 2 of them. I get, the no one knows what year 3 of Legacy is, or if Legacy. I think they said Legacy's not necessarily a trilogy. I can't quite recall. That was at an earlier Q&A. So Evan talked about the problematic alt modes. He seemed pretty confident they could figure something out. He said, if it's a weird alt mode, they'll just shift parts around, so the robot mode still is the same. So they could, if a guy has a chair, shift some parts around, make the chair into a tank. Evan did say that he's really sure they could do nickel in core class pretty easily. That doesn't mean they're working on it. It sounded very much like that's an idea right now, which means it's a year or 2 out, if it's even that solid an idea. BMAC suggested an electric chair transformer could just be a Metallica crossover that had to do with some cover art. I don't know what a Metallica is myself, but I'm assuming that's like something for the sports fans. Monzo asked, is there a plan to get copies of Tarn to James Roberts and Alex Milne? Because, that's kind of their joint creation. The team were basically like, yes. BMAC said that is sort of in the plans. But currently the team are still waiting for their own copies of the toys. And that doesn't mean they're getting them first, but it's like they don't even have copies right now. BMAC apparently had a Tarn, but had to send it on for a toy show. So nobody has Tarn right now. Chris Allen says Metallica Ride the Lightning cover art. There you go. Yeah, it's whatever sport that's from. That's related to the electric chair thing. Zero HasLab DJD box set. Yeah, it could be it. They have that outlet now. That's a whole other. I will say. I feel like just saying the word, I've already summoned the tides of 6-inch collectors. I looked into 6-inch collector YouTube the other day. That stuff is super mad. The vibe in 6-inch collector YouTube is and justified or not, boy, my algorithm feed on YouTube is just so many thumbnails, just super mad people with lots and lots of 6-inch tall action figures. I feel like Transformers is a little bit more chill. Obviously, there's lots of mad people in Transformers fandom, but boy, howdy, 6-inch fandom. I had to I was covering my head almost during some of those things. I was watching them with a friend of mine who doesn't collect toys, so we're like, oh, let's just see what they're talking about. And then it got rough. So another question was. I think this might have been Daryl, who's a fellow Canadian who's on Transmissions. I think this was his. It was can you acknowledge that Minerva exists now that she's out in Canada? Because they haven't really acknowledged Minerva that much yet. To which they said, yes, we can acknowledge Minerva exists. So she's supposed to be a Walgreen exclusive in the States. BMAC basically, and this goes back to that Walmart thing. BMAC said that Walgreen said that they were going to have an October 1 shelf date for her, and he hasn't heard anything from them, and he doesn't know what's up. And he said there's a chance you might just walk into a Walgreens and see them sitting there. He doesn't have any information on it. It's in Walgreens' hands because it's their exclusive. Apparently they said October 1, but no one in the States has found one as far as I know. And that sounds like so going back to the thing about Walmart, it sounds like when it comes to a retailer exclusive, that is how the chain of information happens. Basically, is like once they have their stock of it, they might say, "Oh yeah, we'll let you. We do plan to release it, so you guys know we plan to release it on this date." Walmart sounds like don't necessarily say that to them at all. Walmart's just like, "Well, we're bigger than you. We don't have to tell you anything." That is me creating a character for Jim Walmart. By the way, that's not anything from the stream. So Walgreens has them. And apparently afterwards, Pulse will have a small stock later, as is the norm. I don't really pay attention to Pulse because the Canada shipping sucks, but like that's apparently the norm. Like Pulse will have a small stock for the Pulse Premium people. And then it was kind of built off that, someone saying like, is this with Victory Saber? Are you guys building out the Japanese universe characters? And they said like, yeah, they're doing their best. Mark Marr specifically apologized that Minerva doesn't have the headmaster gimmick, but he hopes that you guys think that the head sculpt is good, and like it is good. Let me show off for a second. Yeah, that's in focus. This isn't gonna help. So as you can see, the head sculpt is really nice. Imagine if I did reviews like this. Wouldn't this be great? I'm just like, hey, so you can see the details here. Anyway, yeah, it's a good head sculpt. I got a Minerva. What's that? You gonna stop me? You gonna do something about it? Huh? You gonna come here and take my Minerva? Huh? Something? You gonna come to my country? You're gonna come to my country and take my Minerva? Oh, we're talking about Jim Target now in the chat. Yeah, hey, Jim Target tried to come to Canada. We threw him out. Oh, Eros, what's up? I wasn't making fun of it. I'm making fun of my silly. This is not even like a cheap webcam, but the autofocus it flips out and stuff. I'm not good at this webcam. I have 2 webcams connected to this computer now because I want to move into 2-cam streaming at some point. I experimented with it on a stream a couple months ago and it worked out okay. I'm getting off topic. The next question was about the core class combining Dinobots. What unique challenges did they present, and how do you avoid, this is in the questionnaires' words, how do you avoid having the 6th member be the Yoko Ono of Dinobots? And then the team kind of ran with it a bit. They're like, yeah, it might be the Yoko Ono of Dinobots. This could be their last album. Who knows? So Evan, it seemed like Evan on design was like the big push behind these Dinobots. He said Sludge has taken the brunt of everything due to his thunderous thighs being the lower waist of the combiner. And for the whole concept, basically, it seemed doable. And Evan said that just saying no to it didn't feel right in light of the existence of like Beast Hunters Abominus and the Micromaster 6 combiners and etc. And it was like, this should be doable. And so apparently it sounds like part of the core class Dinobots Volcanicus thing was just like, well, why can't we? We can do this. And then on a marketing end, it also really worked out because that meant they could have all the Dinobots on the shelf. And then I thought this was cute, right? But it kind of like back in G1 when you saw the Dinobots on TV and then all of them were on shelves when they were on TV. Whereas with the Studio Series Dinobots, they can only have at max 3 of them out in like a year. To even have all 5 of them out of leader class would take a year and a half. That's a lot of long-term chasing of like leader class toys. So the core class ones mean that like more of them can exist on shelves at the same time. Evan did say that they needed a 6th member if it was going to be core class combiners because they thought about doing a deluxe one, but they wanted it to be all core class. So he was nervous about it, pulled from the lore. Apparently we've all guessed what it is. Someone mentioned, Justice for Paddles. Evan said, if only Paddles had an S name, then maybe that could have happened. At which point, I think it was Monzo, was like, Splashes. Which, that's legit. And Evan does want to try to take a comparison shot of, is it Sludge and Slug are the first ones we saw? I can't remember. I think it's Sludge and Slug. Anyway, Evan wants to, for Instagram, take a photo of them next to Slash, but Evan can't find his copy of Slash. He basically said Slash is somewhere in like a box or a barrel with a whole bunch of other toys. I have too many toys. I don't throw anything out. Help me. So I did say I can relate to the notion of barrel of toys. That's like the state of my collection too. Score, yes, Justice for it's either it's probably Scorn. I thought it was Slash, but then Evan was like, yeah, they could go well with Slash. I want to take that comparison photo, and I was like, oh, so maybe it's Scorn. Well, not Rip Evan Slash. It's there somewhere. Evan was they were all recording from home or zooming from home, so we could again see Evan's like and BMAC called it out. Evan has a gigantic Transformers collection. He had 3 shelves lined up behind him that extended far off into the horizontal distance, and then he moved the camera vertical, and there were more shelves above them that also extended off into the horizontal distance. Evan has like every single Transformer. Anyway, that was that for that question. I'm finding my spot here. Someone asked about Hotshot's Minicon spot because it looks like it could fit a Jolt, and then said that's obviously looking pretty intentional. Was the Cyber Key slot on Override also intentional? Mark said yes. She was like Override. I think that he went into this on his Instagram, but Override was a special case where she was originally going to be a partial of Studio Series Hot Rod, but then they figured out how to, like, Takara Tomy figured out how to have her just be 4 new molds herself to just be a new Voyager toy without using quite as much space in their budget. Not just monetary budget, but space budget. With Takara, he said, when it's a character they have a lot of passion for, you just kind of can sit back and experience the magic and wonder of what that team can do. And stuff like a Cyber Key slot just existing on the toy is part of that. Like, you just go like, oh, you just go do what you're going to do. And then they come back with, Legacy Override. And this is where we got some more, Aaron, you're going to love this. It's steel tooling, steel mold stuff. We got some more tidbits about how the cookies are made. Because there was also a lot of chatter about, on Instagram, they mentioned Override is 4 molds and Cosmos is 3. And like a deluxe is usually 6. And so people were like, well, wait a second. Does that mean Override is smaller than a deluxe? So they said that when they talk about molds, and we didn't get all of this, I was scrambling to write all this down because they were kind of moving past it. So when they talk about, when they make Transformers, the molds are also in 4 quadrants. So when an exclusive like Override or Cosmos happens, they are using all 4 quadrants themselves. So Override's 4 molds occupy, in a mainline sense, 8 molds, and Cosmos's 3 becomes 6. But if Cosmos was in the mainline, he would be in the 6, and the 6 wouldn't just be Cosmos. But when Cosmos is 3 molds, but he is an exclusive by himself, he occupies all the quadrants, so he is actually 6. And this is where none of us make toys. So, and I'm making an assumption here. Unless if a Hasbro person is watching, then I apologize for one, but also welcome. But yeah, like that's where kind of we hit the ceiling of like, we are the layman fans who are taking in this info. But I thought that was interesting that like molds numbers are not just molds numbers. There's not just a stack of molds and they take up the same amount in the stack. They also produce them in quadrants. And so something like Cosmos or Override get all the quadrants, whereas they wouldn't necessarily if they were a mainline deluxe. Aaron is mentioning that we saw some of that quadrant planning with the Unicron behind the scenes stuff from ages ago. Why is this stuff important? In my opinion, I'm a little tangent. I think this stuff is important because it informs better how we can talk about and criticize what comes out, because we talk about and criticize and praise from a place of knowing just a little bit more information. Thus, what we're saying doesn't necessarily just shoot from a place of what I want and you shoot it at the wall and you hope a bunch of stuff sticks to the wall. It's like, okay, well, if I know a little bit about this, and this, then I can at least like structure what I'm thinking about. Some critiques I can just toss because I'm like, well, that's part of this. Some new critiques could come up, for instance. There's going to be more, by the way, about the new heads. Aaron, you're going to love this when I get to it. Also, Mark mentioned that like when they post stuff on Instagram and share toys on streams, they don't always show you everything like the Cyber Key slots because they want to leave that for us to discover because it's kind of fun. Someone said with Hotshot, I don't know exactly how to take this. They said with Hotshot, wait and see what that little Minicon does. And I'm like, I think you just mean it fits there, but you said it too cleverly and it sounds like it activates the thing. I don't think it does. But it was a really odd statement. Monzo. Another thing. For characters who have no minicon ports, wait and see what's up. I kind of missed the context on that, I think. Monzo, who was on the call, asked if Override was maybe revenge for the fact that Cybertron Override from 05 wasn't the best. It was a toy that was built around a spring load gimmick, and the toy suffered for that in many ways. And maybe this was like a revenge, a second go at it. Evan and Mark both say that as designers, they could see on Takara Tomi's end the potential that it could have been like, we have a lot of a passion for the work we do, and we remember that Override, that Nitro Convoy, and now we have this opportunity to do it better. Yes, we're gonna do it. So there could have been like that chance for revenge, chance for a second attempt kind of thing. They don't know, but they could absolutely see that as being the case. During all this, talking about like passion projects and stuff, BMAC from marketing kind of just said like, I'm never gonna get my Sea Spray, am I? And it was like, no. So apparently BMAC from marketing, when they have their meetings, especially their big planning meetings for the coming year, for instance, of development, BMAC is the Sea Spray year, for instance, of development. BMAC is the Sea Spray cheerleader. BMAC brings up Sea Spray at every single meeting. BMAC went on to say that, like, and I think this obviously is a bit of a joke, but BMAC was like, if I have one retirement goal, it is that we will make a new Sea Spray. So BMAC is super, super duper team Sea Spray. And this is where we found out something. Titans Return Sea Spray had an alternate head in the steel tooling that never got used. The alternate head was a merman. So, like, there is an alternate merman head in the Titans Return Sea Spray mold. And so, obviously, a whole bunch of us were like, well, can you take a photo of it? Because that sounds really funny. Just a merman head on Sea Spray. Because, the episode where Sea Spray and gets Sea Spray and Ariel and the magic thing, they turn into mer people. So Mark said he's not sure if he can find it. It might be in the model studio, aka the catacombs of the basement. But going ahead a little bit, Mark Marr used to work in the model and like I think the paint prep stuff, like a lot of the modeling and design stuff. And so he would see a lot of these alt heads, and so he remembered that Titans Return Sea Spray had this merman head. Sorry, my keyboard came up on my phone and now it's in the way of everything. I'm done. There we go. So I don't know what it would look like, but hopefully we everyone on the call, it came up multiple times. They are gonna try to find that merman head for Titans Return Sea Spray. Seeing if I missed anything here. I might study toy design. Yeah, it sounds interesting. General Techno, is it Motu Merman or is it Derek Zoolander as a mermaid? Yeah, I don't know. I want to know. Is it just a straight up handsome man head on Titans Return Sea Spray? That'd be really funny. Then we got to my question. I had prepared a couple questions. I always have some intent going in. And during this question, this was where I did pop up. Wait, where is it? Oh, I will pop it up in a second. And my question was, I'll read it to you guys. It was basically like and I said, I'm making an assumption about Scraphook here, but with Legacy Evolution's first wave being apparently entirely male characters, going forward, can fans still expect to see female characters as consistently present in the line as in Legacy Year 1? Obviously, there's only so many toys that can be released in 1 year, and I'm sure fan favorite cult classics are waiting in the wings. This is where I can't get it to work now for some reason. This is where I flashed my picture of Scream that I always flash. I didn't do this because I was using a background blur. I didn't use this one, but I do this a lot. I'll finish my question. So there's characters waiting in the wings, but it would be fantastic to see female characters present again, because and this is no joke, for the last 10 weeks I've been nothing but if you've been on my Twitter, you've seen the videos I've been putting up. It's just Robot Woman constantly. I bought Override. I got Alita 1. I got Minerva. I got Prime RC. I got RC and I got RC. And they're all good. And they're all Robot Woman. I'm swimming in Robot Woman. And there gotta be more Robot Woman. So I basically was put and their answer, I'll give you their answer. It was pretty good. But I was basically going yo, dog, there's no Robot Woman in Legacy Evo Wave 1. Y'all still doing Robot Woman, right? And they were. When I went to ask my question, BMAC was like, Chris, I'm looking forward to see what you have to present for us today. And I was like, yeah, like nothing. And then I asked my question, and then I went like, and then, yeah, favorite characters. And then they all were like, oh, there it is. There it is. There's that Supreme. So I gotta look where I am here. Hang on. They're on to me. Okay? They're on to me. But you know what that means? I've incepted them. They know what Supreme is now. All right? They expect it. And what is better than an unknown Supreme? An expected Supreme. An expected Supreme becomes the remembrance of Supreme. And the remembrance of Supreme becomes an expected Supreme realized in the physical. So it's only a good thing that they now are anticipating my nonsense. Yeah, it's like being the Headmaster RC guy, except like I think this is better than Headmaster RC. Sorry, Don, but I think it's better than Headmaster RC, if I'm being honest. Anyway, I'll go back to me now. Where am I? It's me. So the answer they gave was that Mark was like, absolutely, of course. Mark Marr basically went on to explain that, like, in going to conventions and stuff, he noticed years ago, even at the old BotCons, when that was still like a Hasbro thing, that the female audience for Transformers is enormous. And then this is kind of the way he put it, and I like the way he put it, that not having female characters is not having enough representation of female characters, and it's not satisfying the female audience that exists for Transformers. It's not satisfying those customers, and that would be a miss. So they were like, keep your eyes out. Like, they can't tell us stuff that they didn't reveal at Pulse. That's a known thing when you go into these Q&As. If you ever are in the position to ask Hasbro questions, like, always remember, they can't tell you what's coming out even later. They just they can't. They will get crucified by marketing if they do that. So you just got to ask questions that are a little bit more roundabout. So this isn't saying what female characters are we getting. It's just like, hey, we're seeing some more, right? And the answer was basically, of course you're going to see some more. So that could mean a lot of things. But I was basically saying, like, it felt already like a micro miss that, like, we didn't have any in Legacy Evolution Wave 1's reveal. I was leaving the room open for them to go like, no, it's Scraphook. And they didn't. So I think Scraphook is either a he or a they. But Scraphook is not satisfying that slot, it sounds like. I also kind of said, they didn't say anything, but I kind of said, because I wanted to incept this too, I was like, now that we're out of RCs, because all the pink RCs are done, and you did Prime RC, we're out of RCs. Because I'm like, I didn't say it, but I was like, we're done. We're finished. This story has concluded. There is nowhere else to go in the realm of physics with this story. This tale is done, right? Just make a better RC robot if we're going to keep doing that, if we got to. But we're done with the 80s one. There's nowhere else to go. Anyway, that was editorializing. That was not part of the stream. I just had to get that off my chest. Oh, Joe Bob pink Chrome Dome repaint. You're right. Okay, that is an unfinished chat. That is a postscript. That is a PS. That is a footnote. That is an epilogue. That's fine. But, like, we're not. Ah, crap. You're right. Rise of the Beasts. Anyway, no, Rise of the Beast, that could be a new design. That could be one that uses the vehicle parts of the body. That's fine. But 80s RC woman who just, like, morphs out of a car shape, therefore toys have to wear the car, that's gotta be done. The Studio Series 86 one, a pleasant surprise. Small review. Legit good. Replaces the Earthrise one, in my opinion, on an engineering level. Colors and head sculpts are a whole thing. But, like, as a toy, replaces. We're done. We finished it. You did it. You did it in Masterpiece, did it in Deluxe. We finished. Hooray. We can have better woman robots now. Chicken Soup, what about orange and pink prototype RC? Legacy. Selects. That's fine. Earthspark RC. Is she an Earthspark? No, that's fine though. That's a new design. That's a new design. New designs, fine. I'm talking about 80s ass, 80s RC. Anyway, where was I? Right. Then our boy, our local fellow Matt asked a question, which is basically that the core class Dinobots. Matt was good about this. I didn't write down precisely his wording because this necessitated a lot of wording. But it was basically like, you can't tell us what's coming up, but like, are you able to allude at all to the notion that 6 dinosaurs combining into a robot who are also small, alt modes of that sort could be redecoed into like another set of Dinobot or dinosaur robots that form like a little king, or like maybe they could be retooled into like little monsters who construct into a. He didn't do that kind of wording. I'm throwing, that's editorializing. Basically alluding to Dino King and Monstructor. Evan deadpanly said, "I don't know what you're talking about," and then went on to basically go like, everyone, I can't say anything, but everyone's guessed it. Basically, he was like, I can't say anything, but also it's like you all seem to already have guessed the really obvious thing, but I can't say it. And so the question was, are little pretender shells on the table at all for if hypothetically that kind of team were to happen? So it became a question more, kind of just about pretender shells. Evan said they actually hear about pretender shells as a request a lot. So everything's always on the table, but for development and design dollars, a pretender shell eats up a ton for what its tooling would be. Not even just a ton of money, but a ton of space on tooling because it's a big hunk, basically. So it's hard to justify them. So they're not off the table. It's just like, that is why they might be unlikely, is that they're like little balloons, I guess, in a steel tooling is how I'm kind of thinking of it. He did also mention people found that core class bomb burst fits into the G1 pretender shell. Just throwing it out there, but he's also saying that actually is unintended. I'm assuming that's just because like it's a little toy and the G1 pretender shells had a big space inside. Like that would be my assumption. I'm a big hunk. Why? Butter, spit, drink water, spit, take. Okay, next question was Rodimus Primal's daughter Aerith was there, who wanted to know, and this related to my question, basically. They brought that up. Rodimus Primal also had images prepared. I think he might have been the one who asked me how I was doing that, and I mentioned I was using OBS virtual camera. So I might have caused a problem. It might be spreading to the other people on the list. I don't know. But with images to back it up, it was basically Rodimus Primal's daughter wanted to know if a character like Slipstream is on the table, because again, like, it's not literally like women only want to buy woman robots, but it is, female fans want to see female characters. They want to see representation that not is them. I'm not sure if that's the right phrase, but you know what I mean, right? Could something like Slipstream be in there? And obviously they can't answer that question, but this is my favorite thing about the Q&A. This used to happen with another person on the list who wasn't there for this call, where their kid was present, so they just get their kid to ask a question. It's fun watching the design and marketing teams interact with an actual kid on these Q&As. So they got Delaney, who was new on, she hadn't answered any questions really, because like, and I kind of thought this going in, I don't know that there really was Studio Series news, really, out of PulseCon compared to Legacy. I didn't really know that there was anything to ask someone from Studio Series. And so they said, anything is possible. Female bots are super important. Someone mentioned a female Junkion who got blown up, named Nancy. Aerith was like, oh, why'd she get blown up? So Mark Mara was like, no, it's cool. The Junkions, they fixed her with their magic shampoo. And that did kind of have a little moment of like, you can't just say fixed her with their magic shampoo. What are you talking about? And he meant like the stuff they used to fix Ultra Magnus. But I like the quote, it's okay, they fixed her with their magic shampoo. I thought that was adorable. Anyway, the next question was, what criteria is used to select or reject characters like the GoBots? And like, is there a priority in bringing in characters like GoBots. And I was hoping that this would maybe cover a. I had a question. I didn't ask this one because it kind of got covered, but I'll read it out to you. My second question I submitted was something outside of the team's purview standing in the way of having Velocitron 500 Deluxe Crasher prefixed with GoBots Universe? Cykill fans are watching from afar. I feel this did get covered amidst other people's questions. So Mark said when the team assembles to talk about exclusives slots and what they have to go in there, everyone comes in kind of with a passion project usually, or like they've got like kind of, you know, like BMAC is Team Sea Spray. And to back up this stuff, they will data mine and look to see what the fan community is talking about, like in a broad strokes way. They keep track of what is a common topic, who comes up commonly in discussions that they can find and you know, add for their data mining. So what makes the cut isn't really an argument. It's more a team discussion about like, well, this will probably sell better. This has like a good alt mode. This has a good color scheme for this. Like this fits really well. Mark Marr specifically said he has a love for Transformers that cross over with GoBots. So he was really down with stuff like Bug Bite in selects. Then Evan just answered my question. My actual question. Evan was, without me asking it, Evan said, sometimes it gets tricky with a license like GoBots since its counterpart is alive and well with another company in Japan. So I will fill in the gaps up front. He is talking about Machine Robo, which is still owned by and putting out product through Bandai of Japan in Japan. Machine Robo still exists in Japan. Those weird combiners where you stick like a bus to a penguin or whatever, or like an apple to like a fork, those are Machine Robo Universe branded. So Machine Robo still exists, and that is what GoBots were. They were Machine Robo toys imported by Tonka and given. So Evan said that while Hasbro owns the GoBots and the characters, another company owns what the GoBots were. And that makes it complicated, which to me answers my question of that's why I'm inferring things, but I don't think this is a leap of logic. That is why Crasher doesn't say GoBots Universe, because that invites that conversation and that kind of that weird little web the GoBots exist in. Then BMAC went on to say that the team, the design team, have, like, in his words, deck upon deck of stuff to pull from. And also the team know what heads are hidden in the molds, and they will hide heads in the molds. And like, you know, a 2018 toy might have a second head in the mold that is there, even though it might not get used until like 2024, but it's like hiding in there. And that the team are fans as well, and they know what they want to finish their own collections. Evan then just kind of said, like, I don't know how to take this. Evan kind of went like, there may be a scooter and a Cykill. And it's like, what? You can't just say that. I don't know what that meant. Someone mentioned that there is a Voyager class motorcycle, and then they said like that a Voyager class, that is like a lot harder to just jam someone in compared to Deluxe class. But like, what was he talking about? What is he talking about scooter and Cykill for, and making my heart go all like da 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 da? That's the sound my heart makes. It's probably not healthy. And then during someone had mentioned, Matt, I think, mentioned, like, you know, we have Cosmos, Pathfinder, and then Evan from design was like, oh yeah, we do technically have Cosmos if you can find one. And I think Monzo mentioned Europe got solid, like a European outlet got a solid case of Cosmoses, to which Evan said in all caps vocally, what? Because Evan apparently has had people contact him going like, do you have any idea how we can find Cosmoses? Like, we can't find them. Are you guys able to release them more? Evan is on the design team. It's not really in his purview, but like, he gets a lot of messages about Cosmos. And then BMAC from marketing said he was trying to get a hypothetical Cosmos case for the team and was told that they don't do one. So Cosmos is a Walmart exclusive, and basically what BMAC said is he can't force Walmart to do anything from his position. All he can do is impose on them the idea, you really should consider bringing this character back into distribution. But the Cosmos toy is Walmart's, and it's up to them to do with it whatever they will. Big shrug. I'll head off something because I saw this on the Instagram. It is also a case where, like, if Walmart didn't have Cosmos, then Cosmos wouldn't exist, basically. So it's like, should have put him in the main line. Like, sure, but like he wouldn't be in the main line in this timeline that we live in. So he exists at Walmart. And I basically this I think was kind of completing the little trilogy of this. A lot of this sort of confirmed to me that when a retailer gets an exclusive, the hierarchy is not that the retailer is now under Hasbro to distribute the exclusive. The hierarchy is that the retailer has the exclusive and they are on Hasbro's level, and the retailer can do whatever they want. So, as I alluded before, I'm not saying like, go pick fights with people, but like if you have aggro about it, like this is sort of a way to inform where the aggro can be aimed, because it makes sense to me. This kind of has been my assumption for a while, especially with Walmart. It's been my assumption that Walmart is not beholden to Hasbro whatsoever. Hasbro is more beholden to Walmart as like one of the giants of big box retail that still exists amidst the destruction of many others. So that's always I've always assumed that like Hasbro can't do as much about what Walmart does because Walmart can do whatever it wants because it's the big dog. That's always been my assumption. I don't think they would ever confirm that, but like I feel like this feeds that assumption I've had. Yeah, Jeremy, they have mentioned before there's a time limit on exclusives, and that exclusives can come back once that exclusivity window has passed, but even then they have to find room for them. I've been talking a lot. I have to drink water. Holy crap. How long have I been streaming? Oh, only an hour? What's wrong with me? Anyway, I think that's all I had for that one. I'll move on to the next thing. I'll just take a look at the chat, see if I'm missing something. Target's better getting exclusives than Walmart. Yeah, I kind of... This is all I'm hearing about the right examples to fit this narrative, obviously. But it always sounds like Walmart is like the big, sweaty, I don't give a crap, give me your money version of all of these. Like the most that of all of these. Anyway, I have more to talk about. The stream's not done. I was just like, wow, my throat feels really dry. Have I been talking for like 2 hours? It's been like an hour. I'm running off 2 hours of sleep. Maybe that's part of it. But you know what? This is how we build character. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so someone asked this because this is as we've been alluding to over this Q&A, they kept mentioning more and more that there's heads hidden everywhere. So I think this came from Alex from TFW 2005. Do all new molds, or even going back, how far back, do molds just always have stealth heads and whatnot waiting in the molds? Like, is that ongoing from before, or is that a new thing that there's always second heads? Mark Mars said that this has been going on before his time with Hasbro. Some even have 2 alternate heads in the mold. The weird thing about it is back when Mark started like working in the prototype painting and whatnot, I believe that's what he was working on. A lot of those heads just never released, and they're just chilling there. Galaxy Shuttle is the big example. That was Siege Astra Train had this other head in the mold, and Mark happened to know it was supposed to be Galaxy Shuttle, and so they were able to put that together. Evan what is this? It was like, are some of those old heads able to come out now? Evan covered this next question. It was basically, as new team members come on and old team members who put those heads in there go, some of those heads, they don't know what they're supposed to be, because whoever put the head there is not on the team anymore and never left a note what the head was supposed to be, because it was in their head when they designed it. And they're like, yeah, this is this person's head. I'm going to remember this. But there's no documentation as to what head is supposed to be what. So there's a lot, basically Evan said that it's rare not to see an alternate head in a mold. So there are a lot of them. It's just that in some cases it's hard to find those molds again. And in some cases they just don't know what the head is supposed to be. So this is a big thing I think we learned from the stream. Like, there are a ton of alternate heads going back the past decade that we've never seen. We've heard some alluded to. We've seen some here and there. There are more. And in some cases, no one knows what they're supposed to be because the people who worked on those heads are long gone. So that was kind of fascinating. there's more about that. Another example about that, but Mark also added that like when you see details of another character present on a toy, like how you could see some of Ransack on Kickback, that is to set up and support the alternate head that was designed for Kickback, that being Ransack. So then they mentioned that with Galaxy Shuttle, Mark used to talk to John Warden a lot, right? And Mark had a feeling when they were working on Victory Saber and whatnot. Mark was like, I think there's a Galaxy Shuttle head somewhere. And then Evan confirmed Mark had to like sleuth hard and like dig super deep, like go into the catacombs of Hasbro to find that head. And then also happened to know that that head, a fairly generic looking robot head, was supposed to be Galaxy Shuttle from a conversation he had with John Warden years ago. Because if that's a Siege toy, even a late Siege toy, that toy would have been designed like years, like 2 years before Siege came out. Or at least 2 years before. It was definitely 2 years before Earthrise. So apparently, and so with Galaxy Shuttle, the other funny part was Galaxy Shuttle's documentation, the Astro Train documentation, didn't even show what the head looked like. It just had a black dot with the word alt head written underneath it. So there was no line art to even support that that head existed. Mark just thought he remembered it existed and went to look for it and had to spend a while looking for it. I thought that was fascinating. And all these alt heads, apparently, like a lot of this stuff is like John Warden legacy of how they used to work on toys. And I know this even went back to Aaron Archer days, because back in Reveal the Shield, I believe they were, was it Reveal the Shield Perceptor having the reflector head and whatnot? Like they were talking about that at those old convention panels. And so Mark still thinks about those, you know, talking to John Warden all the time. And is always wondering, like, to quote him, like, did Bill Rawley like hide something in another toy somewhere that we just don't know about? So because of all this, Mark said, I'm going to quote him here, he's going to try to see if his old stash is still around, partly because we all want to see the Sea Spray Merman head. So I also like the idea that like Mark Marr just has an old stash of prototyped unused alt heads kicking around. And like it's bonkers, like the amount of sleuthing you'd have to do for some of that stuff, given how like I assume some older toys, like they keep records of stuff, but the farther back you go, the less records there are, and the more likely an alt head was designed by someone who doesn't work there anymore, right? And like you could track the person down who worked on it, but like that's a ton of legwork to figure that stuff out. I thought it was fascinating that like there is potentially like so much stuff in there. Someone mentioned like if they could even just take photos of the heads, even if they don't know what they are, it could make for a cool blog post. And I was like, hell yeah, you guys should do that. Anyway, this brought us to Monzo's question, which was about the closed box packaging. I'm going to speed into this one just so I don't get too caught up on this, but lots of Hasbro brands are going to closed box packaging. And the open windows seem to be kind of dangerous in some shipping situations where stuff can like fall out or whatever. There's the whole thing about people. I see a lot of people talk about an epidemic of removed heads on Transformers. I've never seen proof of that beyond Blue Streak, and I'm wondering if that's like a hyperbole that became truth through manifestation of voice. But anyway, that's an aside. So the question is, could Transformers go fully closed box as well? And this has come up before, I remember, but they did go into some more detail on this. I'm going to take a drink. Adam Midalinsky, it seems like there's a lot of espionage and Mandela effect happening with these heads that may or may not exist. Yeah, a lot of these heads are probably just like Mark Marr, because he used to work on the brand before he was the brand lead. Sorry, not brand lead, but, you know, like his position on sort of a top position on design. And he used to be lower down on the rungs, but talked to John Warden a lot. So it's like, Mark, do you remember if this head exists? And it's like, I think so. You know, I think that's fascinating. Okay, I'm seeing in the chat that people do see like heads pushed down a lot. I can see that too. Bulkhead looks like his head is missing when it's pushed down. Yeah, I can see that. David Stapleton found a Dark of the Moon Bumblebee missing his head today at Target. So about the boxes, BMAC kind of took the lead on this one. Unlike Marvel and in his words, unlike Marvel and Star Wars, Transformers audience still skews younger. So seeing the form factor of the figure drives a purchase more than seeing a render on a closed box for that younger audience. And then, as an example, with Marvel Legends, a Spider-Man is a Spider-Man is a Spider-Man. You know what Spider-Man is. Regardless of the costume variant, your brain is like, Spider-Man. But then, like, a needle nose might be less obvious to a kid who's just seeing a CG image of needle nose. They might go like, well, I don't know what needle nose is. Whereas if they see the physical toy standing in there, it's like, oh, that's needle nose. It did not come up that in those packaging samples we saw for Legacy Evo, needle nose was also like straight jacketed in there. So it's more you're seeing his head and his chest. But like that aside, the target kid, this is again some wording here, and this is marketing research data stuff. Target kid audiences gain information really quickly, and an open window box it has quick look recognition factor for them, so that kids who take in information really fast, they see physically the figure, they take that information in way faster than if they see a picture of it, basically. And this is also why leader class and above are in closed boxes, because not every kid is going to be getting a $50 plus toy every week in American dollars. And then they went on to say, this is interesting too. I think this is something one could have inferred, but this was, again, like we're hearing it concretely now. It's actually impossible for them to put a photograph of the finished toy on the package because, and this is why it says, packaged product may vary from photography or whatever. The final engineering pilot of the toy, the final physical version of the toy, arrives like sometimes 4 weeks prior to its release, after the packaging has been printed already. This is because packaging is often created and run and printed and fully made at the same time the toys are produced, so the toys go straight into the packaging in the factory. So packaging actually comes before the production of the toys. Packaging is like a huge thing. It's always being tweaked, and they're always taking feedback on it. It is also a completely separate team from design and from marketing, so we didn't actually have any packaging people there. So everyone basically was saying, like, what we're saying about packaging is what we know about packaging, but that's not our purview necessarily. But I'd never thought about it. Like, it never actually really it never came up, basically. But I was like, I never considered that, the packages are there when the toys are produced. The toys are getting shot straight into the packages. They're getting twist tied and put in, but you know what I mean. So that does make sense. And yeah, that's why it says product may differ from packaging photos on the packaging. I said the word packaging a lot, and now I feel really dry. Anyway, is this the last question? This is the last major question, which was, are you planning to expand on Beast Wars Japanese stuff going off of Lio Convoy? And when you do stuff like Lio Convoy, how do you decide how to fold it in and explain it to fans? Like the fact that, it's Leo Prime, not Lio Convoy. And this is another interesting thing I hadn't heard myself, or at least if I did, I forgot about it. The name Convoy is a legal thing, and that's why they don't use it in North America, or outside of Japan, I should say. That's why they always change the name to stuff like Leo Prime. More on that in a bit. In the case of Leo Prime himself, he also is just a perfect fit for this kind of line, because he's a bright white lion. The lineup of Wave 1 really well. And they want to keep doing that stuff and dipping into Japanese Beast Wars. And there is a challenge to incorporate them for the US audience. Evan then chimed in to say, Beast Wars 2 is actually a lot less difficult because they're mostly redecos. And then BMAC said Leo Prime is also an easier sell because, with data to back it up, kids love lions as a form factor. And also, people gravitate towards Optimus Primes. So a lion who is Optimus Prime is like a double draw for a lot of kids, inherently, data-wise. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Where was I here? Oh, yeah, so going off the thing about people gravitating towards Optimus Primes, Evan from Design mentioned as an anecdote that once upon a time, apparently, I'm guessing somewhere else, not in Transformers, a designer once yelled at him that you never mix red and blue on a product. And it's like, well, that's Optimus Prime, right? Yeah, you never do that. And then Mark Mara was like, yeah, you never do red and blue. What's Spider-Man? I was like, yeah, there's a lot of red and blue. Who was like, never mix red and blue? And as I said, that sounded like that was outside of the realm of Evan's time with Transformers. That was probably some other thing. I don't know Evan's entire body of work necessarily. So then they also mentioned that Mark said that seeding characters like Leo Convoy, Leo Prime into toys, it could lead to them appearing in animation or in films or whatever. Like, for example, if Leo Prime becomes a huge thing across not only the fandom but even some of the general like enthusiast public. Like people are just like it is the talk of the town. Everyone's like, this Leo Prime. Leo Prime is the stuff. This kicks ass. Yeah, Leo Prime. Like that could lead to him getting an entertainment slot, which I guess you could say like perhaps that's what happened with Tarn. Tarn was huge. Tarn was popular when Cyberverse folks were working on stuff and they're like, how can we fit Tarn in here? People like Tarn. And then the chat, I always forget there's a text chat attached to a Zoom call. The text chat was filling up with like all kinds of like funny names for Big Convoy, and apparently the one that was popping off was Optimus Pachyderm. And I think BMAC was like, I don't like that one, but that's because I don't like the word pachyderm. And I was like, I get it. I don't like the word hustle. I can't tell you why. Sometimes you just don't like a word. So they went a little bit more into the convoy thing. Apparently the term convoy is trademarked in Japan. And so it is something about the Japanese industry and market, and that it is respectful to their partners at Takara to not use the name convoy over here. And then Mark said that he thinks another business in Japan owns the name Convoy. And so Monzo, who used to do trademark nameless for BotCons back in the day, said he's going to try to look into it because he digs through trademark nameless all the time. So maybe we'll find out something about that. But it was interesting that the Convoy thing was not... I mean, I'm sure it was sort of a wide assumption that like it was on the back of the 07 movie exploding and that the whole world knew the name Optimus Prime. And so now we're just going to call them Optimus Prime everywhere. It sounds like the word convoy also has, legal implications that could be complicated. We did have a couple more small questions after this, but BMAC did say there's going to be an October 27 Pulse stream that we are going to want to watch. It sounds like they're going to reveal some stuff. And then we got into smaller questions. Matt mentioned that on the Legacy Evolution poster artwork, there was a very lockdown looking Junkion car. So, like, is it lockdown? People love animated. People are thirsty for animated. People are thirsty for lockdown. Matt said thirsty a lot. BMAC was like, is that a thing we say now? Thirsty? And then BMAC started saying thirsty. And then, like, Mark was like, I'm quoting Mark here. Mark said, in regards to animated, especially in lockdown, but animated too, we have taken note of the thirstiness. And good. I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty right now. I'm a big thirsty boy. Clip it. You can't do clips on YouTube. I win. Intellectual checkmate. So I think they talked about this in the Paul stream, and they talked about this in other Q&As. Like they know that the folks want animated. They know. Whether they can do something about that or not, who knows? But also, yeah, this is a lockdown ass looking car on that poster. Anyway, I then kind of we had like 5 minutes left, so I kind of pushed in because I had another question I really wanted to ask. Let me go. There's a clip button in YouTube now. TARDIS89, really? All right. I heard that's good for me if you clip things on Twitch. So clip stuff here. I don't know. Clip it. Snip, snip, snip. What do they say over in the wrestling? I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, my question here was that kind of going off the fact that like in Legacy Year 1, right, we had a sort of loose fiction around the idea of energon weapons and energon mining, because at one of the Q&As they mentioned Cybertron Metroplex fit into the soft lore of Legacy Year 1 because he's a giant mining operation and energon mining. So I was like, is there sort of a similar lore hook for Evo Fusion? And then maybe like there are other fun little lore hooks we've got, like, is there stuff about Tarn's arrival because it was such a big thing on the poster, and I kind of went on. I kind of went to incept something here. with the core class combining Dinobots, are they actually just that small and from another universe? And is Volcanicus a means for them to look the main universe Dinobots in the eye? Or did something weird happen to the G1 Dinobots when they were pulled into the Legacy world? And I kind of said like that we don't need to have like full-on shows for this stuff, but little crumbs here and there are really fun. And even things like with Legacy Wild Rider, his cape, it looks like a jetpack to me. And I'm like, if there was something in a media where it's like, yeah, it's a jetpack, I think that it would be really easy to go like, oh yeah, that's his jetpack. Or Legacy Motormaster, when you combine him with the Menasor suit and you just leave Motormaster's head on there, it looks like Motormaster is in like an emergency like power mode where he has like 66 seconds of time to use this power suit kind of thing. And with Legacy, like we have like nothing to pull from. And so I'm gonna go off. I didn't take a lot of notes for this part, but like, BMAC was like, there's always like kind of the sense of leaving that open for the imagination. And I was kind of, and I didn't cut right in, but like I kind of mentioned that like I'm down with the end. Like obviously, clearly, I'm down with the imagination thing, but like it's always nice to have like some little solid rocks here and there to stick an anchor into. So that it's not so much just me screaming my headcanon at people on Twitter, although I like screaming my headcanon at people on Twitter, and I'm not going to stop. I mentioned that like because Mark Marr basically went like that he digs it, and like that they all have like they have story ideas here and there when they're coming up with Legacy stuff, and like where would we like to see something like that? And I was like, the way that you guys did the story for the Golden Disc collection felt really solid, because you don't need to budget a whole ass Netflix show for it. You don't need to draw up an entire comic series. You don't have to go into great deep fictional detail. You just have like a story blurb in the ad copy. It doesn't need to be on the packaging because of the multilingual thing. It's chilling out, because they mentioned when I talked about the Dinobots thing, Hasbro team were all laughing at what I said. And BMAC was like, he's got to stick that into the copy. And I was like, yeah, my name is Chris Ho, if you want to put that stuff in. But that having those little anchors here and there are just nice, because then we just have like something to blossom our imagination off of that isn't quite as like just openly free form, right? And then Rodimus Primal suggested that with those QR code links on the packaging, maybe the QR codes that they lead to little profile things here and there, but like maybe they could lead to a centralized site that has a story on it. And then I kind of wanted to I kind of jumped to add in like the story doesn't need to be long and it doesn't need to be deep. The Golden Disc collection is a perfect example of how deep it needs to go. But I also mentioned, like, by the way, that story got really oddly dark at the end. I'm happy that Puffer survived, but like maybe it doesn't need to go like quite so dark next time. And then Monzo was like, yeah, please don't kill our toys before we have them. I was like, well, yeah, I'm not gonna go that far, but also you're not wrong. But Puffer survived. The golden baby of the universe survived, so we're all good. So hopefully that's seeded into like maybe being a thing, because they do want, the team is all into providing more story crumbs here and there. And they have a show coming out in Earthspark, right? It's not like they need to make another show, but for Legacy, like it would be, because a lot of people don't know that there is an Energon and Energon mining theme anywhere in Legacy, and that partially informs, not obviously not entirely, but it like 10% informs why Cybertron Metroplex is there. And there's nothing to explain that other than if you stare at the box art and think a whole lot, well past where most people would just go like, anyway, I'm going to enjoy the toy I spent $200 whatever dollars on. Oh yeah, there's one more tidbit I got. Then I'll take a look at the chat. I forgot where this came from. This had to do with like Dinobots and stuff. I don't think that they ever confirmed this before, but I always thought this. So for a while, they couldn't touch Platinum Edition from the last night. Any character in Platinum Edition was in fact off limits for Studio Series. That is obviously not the case anymore. This had to do, I think, with like the last night Dinobots maybe getting another swing at having toys beyond like the ones that have shown up in Studio Series. Or sorry, the last night, the Age of Extinction Dinobots, but other stuff like that happening. Basically anything that hasn't happened in Studio Series, it sounds like all the doors are wide open now. Like there's no more limitations on who can be in it. But yeah, apparently at the time, Platinum Edition characters were off limits to Studio Series when Studio Series began. Studio Series also began many years ago. I keep forgetting how long that line has actually been around. Anyway, that has to do with all of my notes that I kept. I was a tight 91.5. So how you all doing? I hope, by the way, this was helpful at all. I just think it helps to like get across some of the Hasbro team interactions because, you know, this is a little parasocial, but like it's nice to know that humans work on the toys. And I think that these Q&A sessions and the streams they've been doing have been, and the Instagram stuff they've been allowed to post, it's been wonderful because you can finally attribute some humanity to the existence of the Transformers in the 21st century, beyond seeing people at conventions. And I think it's important. Domino Paradox Studio Series is 5 years old next year. Oh, geez. Oh, there's a clip button in the chat even. Wow, I didn't know that. Am I supposed to like do plugs and stuff? I've been watching more streamers in the last 2 years, but like I don't know, because I'm on YouTube and I did look into some things. I'm gonna go into some inside baseball. As far as I understand, there is zero reason for me to move to Twitch to do streaming. There is maybe a reason to get a stream splitter, because apparently Twitch isn't persnickety about that anymore, about like exclusively for Twitch, whatever. But streaming on YouTube is a good thing. But all the streamers I watch are on Twitch, and they all have the Twitch language that doesn't exist over here. Maybe for the better. But I'm not like, hey, hype train raid bits hosting. Apparently hosting's gone, though. I'm not sure. Anyway, Emmanuel Murrin, thank you. I'm not close with the people at Hasbro, really. I'm just on a press list because I kind of went out of my way to try to connect with folks at Fan Expo in 2019 because I was like, not like I'm tired of this, but I was like, they're here. John Warden is here. I'm gonna go talk to them, and I want to interview them for 5 minutes. And then during that, it was like, oh, you should be on the press list. So here I am. But the upside of that is that I'm a weirdo who likes to talk about weird stuff that they talk about on the streams. So I collate that information and then I stream it here. So Joel Adler, when you realize Galaxy Shuttle's coal car launchpad is blue because that's the color of the Micromaster rocket base. Yeah, dog. Hell yeah. MJM, as a female TF fan, I really appreciate you calling for more girls in the toy lines. Yeah, that is like basically one of my main. The Spreem thing is 30% a meme, 70% a personal project. But the other main one I have, especially after the last year of toys, having better representation of female characters in it, and the fact that there are plenty of female characters, it is something I like to bring up a lot. Kind of my main goals of these Q&As is bring up female characters being represented and more behind the scenes stuff. I've actually backed off on that a little bit because they're doing so much now. And I feel like, I'm not going to take like full credit for it, but I feel like all of us on the calls saying that we love that stuff is why they have those Instagram accounts up now, among other things. So a lot of my goals are kind of like that. That's why I do disappoint folks now and then, because I'm not going in there as a firebrand really, and I'm not going in there like digging for secret info. And I'm not going in there to like, I'm gonna give Hasbro an uppercut, because the Hasbro people who need the uppercut aren't the ones on the Zoom calls, basically. But I have my goals, and so I'm really happy I'm on that list because I feel like I'm able to make some stuff squeak here and there. I'm able to put some mousetraps down, and I'm able to incept Spreem. When can I get my answers on my Kingdom dinosaurs? Yeah, I don't know, man. I think the boat sailed on them. Sea Striker 87, getting to talk to Vangelis for me is the same as Vangelis talking to Hasbro. Nah, dog, this is more. It's more. I don't have a PR person here, right? I don't have marketing to worry about. But also, I don't know how Transformers are made. I just hear and repeat bits I hear at BotCon panels and these Q&A calls. I do like streaming because I like talking, because it happens. That's all the water. Now I'm onto this. It's just Coke, by the way. Funny little aside. During the early stages of lockdown, I discovered that something in my I hadn't had a lot of booze in a while, and I had a cider in my fridge cider and beer make the back of my throat get like a near allergic reaction now. So I kind of just dropped most alcohol, not out of any real reason, but like the stuff I liked, I can't have anymore. So I never have secret booze in my drinks. I mean, this technically would probably be a rum, which would be fine, but like I never. I think I've had some folks go like, so how much you drink before that stream, or like how much THC is in your body before you're streaming, and like I don't do any of that before I stream because like that would freak me out. I'm always sadly, depressingly, this is 100% sober me when I'm doing streams. Ben Walsh, is that why some of the last night studio series were reused as premiere figures? Yeah, I always got, I don't know, but I always got the impression that some of the premiere edition stuff was like proto studio series in a way. So that's why it kind of slotted together, I guess. Yeah, Picky Peeps, just get on them on Instagram because they reply to folks on Instagram. That's a place to pound them for some dino deets. And you mentioned on last 2 leader class Dinobots. Nothing concrete. I do think that came up as like a hypothetical, but they didn't want to say anything. And I don't think it really came across as like, oh, it's his secret plans, but like it sounds like they constantly talk about mini collections, and granted they're leader class, but the Studio Series Dinobots from Studio Series 86 Dinobots would classify as a mini collection. I'm pretty sure that they want to do the other 2. Oh, Picky P's Evan said he was going to show a size comp of the core Dinobots with Slash for you. Yeah, he mentioned, I don't know if you were here for this part. He mentioned that he can't find his Slash because he has too many toys. So he's trying to find Slash for you, and he doesn't know where it is. He doesn't know where he put Slash. His copy of Slash is like lost in a bin somewhere. So he's trying. Wheeljack64, did you talk about how they can't use the word convoy? I did, yes. It has to do with legal things and who owns the word convoy for toys in Japan. And so out of respect and for various other reasons, that's why they don't use it over here. And it was a little bit fuzzy. Monzo said he's going to look into name trademark stuff as far as convoy over here, because Monzo used to do that name trademark lookup stuff for BotCon back in the day. Yeah, Picky Peas, he had to dig her out. He is still trying to dig her out. Legacy Stunnercons, will you do an epic review? I'll do a review. I want to do stuff for them before they're all out. Although, like, I don't know, are they almost all out now? When's Dead End coming out? I don't know when toys come out anymore, because this came up at a previous Q&A, so it's been explained already. But like, it's wild that like release dates actually don't mean anything. I don't know when. I don't know what. Like, I'm always reticent to do like pre-orders now. Other than like, I'll just do safety pre-orders that like I'm like, yeah, this might get canceled. I don't know, but like, I don't know when anything comes out, and then suddenly like 18 things come out, and I'm like, that's cool. I'm between paychecks. Dead End and Inferno might be stolen. Yeah, well, I mean, what is it? Like that whole side of the YouTube machine has already got like Scraphook, right? So they're it's hard to tell. You have to like look for the actual retail sightings, because like you get in-hand reports immediately. News sites also tend to use in-hand reports to describe the literal Transformers team taking photos of their stuff on Instagram, which is kind of funny to me. They're like in-hand photos, and it's like, that is objectively true. That is on the design team's Instagram page, but that is objectively true. I think didn't Breakdown like come out somewhere briefly? I thought I saw that as a news thing, like that, like in another territory, like a case of them just sort of popped up. Yeah, Zero. It's like release date's November 1st. No, it's October 2nd now. You're the pre-order November 1st. That's in February. It's like, yeah, I got hosed, but that's why I'm like, because like contrary to the hang on, contrary to my fancy appearance, contrary to the vibe I put off, I'm not very rich. So when like a $150 thing that I pre-ordered comes out months in advance, it's like dog, I plan not around that being an expense right now. Like it's fine, but like it's messing with my vibe. I'm uncomfortable. So yeah, it's kind of annoying. But how do I put this? The way that I've kind of folded it into a positive is I've used it to continue my attempt to train my brain out of FOMO, fear of missing out. Uh, so there are just toys where I'm like, boy, I wish I had that. But some of those toys, like Black Zarak, I have never had the money whenever I've seen Black Zarak on sale. And like, I think I might have finally missed my last window on Black Zarak, but I'm like, it sucks. But also, I got a really good trade for Earthrise Scorponok and Siege Omega Supreme in the last year. So, like, I would like Black Zarak, but whatever. There's more stuff coming out. I'll deal with it. Everything eventually can be bought again. It's like, I don't know. The FOMO is a very dangerous thing. It's in board games, I have come to learn that FOMO is almost more dangerous than in toy collecting. So I'm trying to train it out of my brain as much as I can. Yeah, Sam, it all comes around. Like, eventually someone's gonna ditch theirs. Eventually someone might regret sale. It might take a while, but like, how do you put this? It's not a positive, it's not a net positive, but from person to person, it can be for an individual a positive thing where 3 years later, it's like, hey, I'm selling my Black Zarak for like 150, and you're like, okay, do I still want Black Zarak? And then, it's maybe an inadvertent self-interrogation, but it means you can go like, yeah, would I have actually gotten anything out of Black Zarak after I got it? Or would it have just been chilling out in a corner for 3 years? I don't know. That's a personal example. Yeah, Domino Paradox. It's like you try to pre-order the exclusives, then a whole bunch of them come out early when you like don't have the money. And I've seen the argument. It's like it's not a wrong argument, but it's like, oh, why don't you just have $300 spare for these kind of things at all times? And it's like, because dog, I don't know, I'm a millennial in 2022. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't think I'm not like swinging around working myself down to like $0 lines constantly just to feed hobby addictions, but like sometimes it's rough when like $100-$200 of stuff like pops up when you don't expect it, because it's like, yeah, I was kind of hoping to not be spending $100-$200 right now. You say there's still a Zarak at one of the GameStops. I see them in Toronto GameStops. I feel like I'm seeing the same two Zaraks getting like passed from GameStop to GameStop. I almost wanted to like mark the corner of the box with like a little star or something to see if that was true, but I didn't because I'm a chicken. Yeah, Picky Peeves, stop pre-ordering SH Monster Arts, get paranoid waiting for it to get filled, and it's months late on BBTS. Yeah, BBTS going through whatever their distro is for import stuff, I've seen stress people out super duper. And that's why I'm like, since how do you put this? Broadly speaking, we can't do anything about this pre-order thing or stuff taking a while to come out. It's out of our control. So in an attempt to take a positive from what's happening, it's like, this is where you hopefully can take a positive. Like, this is a way to train yourself to be like, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I will let it go. It's a bummer, but I will not let it be something that is ruinous. End of the day, it's part of a hobby. It will come around again. It's annoying, but like, I'm going to just let this release. A thing I was really hoping for, everything fell apart around it, bad circumstances. So like, something else is going to come out very soon that I can put all that energy into as well. This is a slight tangent. This is also why I'm a big proponent of people taking improv classes, not to be improv comedy performers, but because there's a lot of really, really solid brain exercise and stuff that comes out of improv classes, like being able to accept the notion of failure, which is like, I feel like it's a fairly hard thing to accept amongst my generation and generations prior, just because of whatever. There's a whole lot of factors, but going to a class where it's like one of the things taught is like how to just let something go if it goes wrong. I think is really helpful myself. It's going to vary from person to person. It's not universal, but that's why I'm a big proponent of the improv class thing. Like, just beginner improv classes. Most good improv places do improv for anxiety, where you can. Those are literally like improv classes without the part where you might have to perform a scene or something. Catching up on some stuff here. I'm missing a whole bunch of chat. I apologize. I'm still new to this. Not. Yeah, new Sam. Oh yeah, the stages of grief with the Earthrise Coneheads. For everything I just said about letting stuff go. I ain't letting that go. I'm still mad. A struggle with failure. Yeah, it's a bummer. It's why improv just as a craft. A lot about improv is being able to digest and let go of failure, because when you're improvising, you're going to screw up. This is part of the game. And so you don't focus on it. You don't, and you learn how to like just take and go like, just throw it away. And then for me, this isn't for everyone, but another thing in improv is actually when something goes really well, also take it. Yeah, it happened. So you don't sit there after, like if you had a really good scene, if you're doing an improv game and you had a really clever thing, oh, it went over, a lot of people laughed. You don't go back to your chair and then just sit there for like 10 minutes going like, I'm so cool. Hot damn. And you're not like paying attention to anything that's going on because you're like, yeah, it went well. Anyway, next thing. But yeah, those Earthrise Coneheads are. I hope that Walmart stuff about them maybe coming out under whatever is real, but like, I hope it's Walmart, because if it's buzzworthy, then Canadians are screwed again. Because buzzworthy in Canada, death sentence. That's what that line is. Because Toys R Us in Canada is owned by the Sunrise Records guy. Toys R Us in Canada. I know a lot of Americans have a soft spot for Toys R Us. Don't. It's dead. And now our version has become the dead puppeteered corpse with the black sludge pouring out of its mouth. Because the Sunrise Records guy owns it. And so now they're like friggin' $90 leader toys, $45 deluxes. I heard low key something about no more returns. It's final sale on collector toys, which come in sealed windowless boxes a lot of the time. Toys R Us sucks. And this is going a little bit farther. I was saying this when Toys R Us died in the States too. I know there's a lot of warm memories about Toys R Us. It is exactly the same as warm memories about Blockbuster Video. The company isn't what's important. It was a visual in formative years, and that's cool. But like, that company was not part of your memories. It was simply a backdrop for your memories. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right for Toys R Us to be dead, is what I'll say. And this Toys R Us thing in Canada, by the way, this is the thing. Let me tell you this. It happened friggin' overnight. Like, out of nowhere last year, Toys R Us just went, we're crazy now. And it was like, what happened? Like, I mean, you can probably start figuring. There's a lot of hypotheses about what happened that one could probably figure out. But like, it was like, we're bonkers. And it's like, okay, I guess Buzzworthy is unpurchasable. But what sucks, Buzzworthy is just overpriced enough to still be cheaper than to get someone in the States to get marked down Target Buzzworthy and ship it here. Because having checked this every couple months or so, shipping a toy to Canada from the US costs between $25 to $40. And it's like, at that point, it is cheaper to go to Toys R Us and pay that ridiculous price. So I'm just saying this to get ahead of like the notion of like, oh, just get an American to ship it to you. Yo, we've been trying to figure it out. And like, you have to do like group buy nonsense. And the thing is, at a certain point, I don't want to make it complicated. If it gets too complicated, then I'm like, I don't want to do this because I'm not going to enjoy the thing when it gets here. All I'm going to think about is all this time and money and complication getting the thing here. Anyway, yeah, General Techno, what happened? Fairfax sold to the Sunrise guy. Yeah, the Sunrise. I was like, the Sunrise Records guy is alive? I thought he imploded with Sunrise Records. And then they're like, oh, also, Sunrise Records is now where all the HMVs used to be. And I'm like, what's happening? That's a really Canadian thing, but regardless. Domino Paradox, I have to import my buzzworthy stuff from Asia because Australia skipped most of the cool stuff. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what Canada is dealing with, it is not what Europe and Australia and other territories have dealt with for years. However, I do want to say for Canada, I think it is very specifically and uniquely frustrating because we are frigging landlocked to the United States, and yet it is cheaper to get stuff shipped to another continent than to get stuff shipped several miles north in the same body of land, and it blows my mind. And my understanding is it has to do with Canada having a lot of land but not a lot of population centers, and that the logistics don't connect well to American logistics as they are now, as opposed to, some years ago. And I get that, but like, I hope you can find that Arising Darkness promo. I'm gonna order it from Renegade and just figure it out. Actually, pardon me for a second. I need to blow my nose, so I'll be right back. Here, while I'm gone, let me give you a little riddle. Give you a little riddle here. What is the measure of a bean? All right, figure that out. I hope you figured that out. I'm back now. It's legit. My nose, I think I don't know why. My nose was like slightly runny from like 30 minutes ago, and I was trying to ignore it. But when your nose, hang on. When your nose has like a meniscus, and you're like, it's fine. Mine was getting to the point where I was like, hang on, this meniscus is getting dangerous, and there might be a drip, and that's not tenable. So I went and dealt with it. Eric, is that a Cintiq in the background? I don't know. What are you talking about? I don't know what a Cintiq is. There's a bug bite. By the way, in case anyone thinks this is like, oh, that's the Vangelis shelf. Nah, it's a really stupid IKEA shelf I bought to deal with a pile of boxes that was sitting in the side of my room. This is worse, but I have to operate with this for now. I'm probably gonna get rid of this at some point because it's a monstrosity. The black thing on the stand with the cable. Oh no, this is just a ring light. Here. Sparking. Oh! Don't do that. That's very dangerous. This is just I use this for miniatures painting. So I've been doing mini painting over here now and then, as opposed to over there. He's talking about the thing on our right. Oh, this. Hang on. Do you mean my Dyson? This is just a silly Dyson fan. Or do you mean this is a MacBook? This is what I edit on. This is what I've been editing on for like nearly 10 years. I feel like I'm missing a whole lot of things here. I tried turning the light on for the stream. It doesn't help. It helps for when I'm playing Transformers TCG with this webcam pointed down, but like that's about it. Oh, okay, you thought it was a drawing tablet. No, it's just I have a black case on my MacBook because I'm really cool. How much Rising Darkness I've played? So I haven't gotten to play any yet because it's really embarrassing. I wanted to play a whole lot of deck building game, and then I got sidetracked by PAX Premier 2nd Edition, and I got super sidetracked by a different game. I'm gonna sit down and play. I gotta do a one shot of each character in Rising Darkness. And I gotta play one shot of a lot of characters. I'm planning to do a video for the deck building game core box and then one for expansions afterwards. And I got to get going on that. It's bothering me. Oh, join the Bayformers TCG. Yeah, we got to. You should, by the way, Discord / however those URLs work / Transformers TCG. I'll play some Transformers. I just placed. I top cut in the recent event called Even Stevens, where you had to only use even numbered waves 2, 4, 6, and 8. And I did surprisingly well with my little 5 wide. It was Raider Chop Shop, and it was 2 of the Airstrike Patrol, and it was Sharkticon Chomp and Decepticon that says Crasher, but there's like a hacker who keeps like making it say Decepticon Fracture. It says Crasher. That team did surprisingly well, given that like I really slapped a deck together at the last minute, and I straight up forgot to put a key card in because I thought it was in an odd numbered wave. Transformers TCG it's a good game in my opinion. V Rider crashed through the door. I imagine I missed a lot. Yeah, yes, but that's what VOD archives are for, baby. I should go back to the live stream readout so I can see what's going on here. Okay, I might take off in the next couple minutes because we're nearing a 2-hour mark. That seems like a good place. But yeah, the next video coming out, by the way, prototype playtime number 9 for Nano Battle. First time I am doing proper filming for a tabletop thing. It is not a grand channel pivot, but I want to cover more games because games are toys, and so it's on topic. But Nano Battle have a Kickstarter starting on November 1st. You probably have seen Pia cover the same little starter set I'm covering. I'm going to do a gameplay stream for it as well, though. I'm not sure how much warning I'm going to give before I do the gameplay stream, but I want to do a gameplay stream with some of the expansion material that I have on hand. And I think that's going to be pretty fun. Nano Battle, I managed to play it with 2 different people face-to-face as well, and I was very happy I did. I have a wider experiential breadth with it now. XWTF TFW, I think I'm waiting for the edit on one. Zero Liddell, games or toys? I don't know if we're ready for these hot takes. Yo, I got hot. I might do it. I was like, I should do a series called V-Spice where I just give hot takes. But like my hot takes generally are less controversial and more like, why are you so passionate about this stupid thing? So that's why I was kind of tempted to do it. I still want to do my video about why I don't like to use the word content to describe what I do and why it's okay to use the word content as a viewer to describe what you're looking at, even though it makes me sad. But I wanted to do that video sometime. But yeah, that's the next video is a prototype playtime and a stream for Nano Battle. Because I wanted to get that done a while ago, and I hit a creative wall because I was like, how do you film a board game? And I got super stuck when I thought it was going to be a lot easier than it turned out being. But I did it once now, so like I know how to do it again, and I'm kind of excited about that. But yeah, I might cover more analog game stuff because I like it. And so as I said before, what are you going to do about it? Huh? You going to come over here and stop me? Bring it. Huh? You going to come in here? You going to stop me from doing it? Huh? I'll wipe my palm on your face after I spit in it. I won't do that. That's disgusting. Ew. Anyway. MJM, take care. Everyone, I probably missed some folks taking off. My apologies. I missed New Sam. I'm just seeing taking off. So, thank you all for coming by for the stream. That felt good to offload that stuff out of my brain, so I didn't try to like sit here and write tweets on 2 hours of sleep. And this has vibed me up so that I could probably just like proceed through to the evening and then just crash out and maybe assume like a vaguely more sunrise oriented circadian rhythm again. Boy, it's been funky. Oh, Zero, you're going to ask me about the whole alternative content creator thing. I ended up going with material from community creators. Yeah, creator is a good word in my opinion. I like to use the word media as an operating noun because it literally is media, and I just think it has a little bit more like, I don't know, just niceness to it. But basically, why it's okay to say content, but I still don't, is because like at this point, the public has been fed the word, and much like Kleenex and much like Band-Aids, you can't get mad at someone for saying the word literally everyone is saying when it's been seeded to them so hard. I think it sucks that that's the word that got seeded to the general culture so hard. And I think that people who make stuff describing their own stuff as content, I still think it's inherently a little bit self-deprecating, even if they don't feel that way. Like, just, there's something unromantic about the phrase, but uh, like I'm not mad at anyone who's like I'm never gonna snap at someone who says, "Hey, I like the content you create." I'm not gonna be like, "Watch your mouth, mother." I'm not gonna be like that, right? Like it's like, no, thank you, still. Um, but like like rooster, what? I don't know what I don't. Hey, I don't talk to no chickens. I don't speak chicken. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from. Anyway, you all take care and stay safe. It's still a pretty funky world out there. I I got a feeling a lot of y'all that were aware and taking care. Um, and we'll talk later. I say this every time I stream once and then don't stream for 3 months, but I'm gonna try to stream more. I am though. I am. I like doing it. But until then, take it easy. Auf Wiedersehen. Be good. Be kind. Spread thine love wherever it spreads, as long as it's like if it's gonna be messy, like don't do it on my place because I don't like wiping that stuff up. It's paper towel costs money, but like whatever it is, take it easy. I don't know a way to end streams really well because I feel like I gotta go like bye bye, and then I gotta go like bye. Bye bye.